Our lives are all about color, and what a better place to express what we love, which brightens our days, which changes our mood, which affects depth, perception, and of course, happiness, is probably the word color. It comes in so many shapes and forms within our gardens, not only in the flowers or in the foliage, but also in the color of the gravel, or the color of a bench, or even of a beautiful wall that's been painted, or just the bark underfoot. But color can be interpreted in so many ways. But of course, the one that we all are interested in is color in flowers. Now, in order for us to understand this, what I do want to talk about is how colors work. You often hear the term neutral colors. Well, neutral colors are the following: black, white, and in gardens, it's also green and gray. Those are the first things I need you to understand. And green and gray can be used fantastically in the garden, especially if you're using bright, and a lovely Afrikaans word for this is bont colors, and colors which don't normally go together. So say, for instance, you were going to put a red plant next to an orange plant, and you wanted something just to break it. Well, then your neutral colors, like your gray and your white and your green, are fantastic to use in that application. So ideally, they're used as a buffer in between these plants with the bright colors. Although white is a neutral color, it can also be used very effectively in dark areas. So, like in this shade garden, we're wanting to create a few pops of interest, and the white just simply lifts it. It also, combined with green, creates a beautiful sense of calmness. Because a lot of us leave very early in the morning and get home at dusk, white is a great plant to use, because even in sunset or sunrise, the white simply illuminates and it really picks up. So you might have heard about them, the moon garden or the moonlit garden or a white night garden. That is why this color is used specifically, because it just lifts in the moonlight. This early sun rays in the late afternoon really catches it and creates interest and depth in areas that might have been quite dull. So when thinking of creating your garden or even pots and containers, this is where things can go wrong, where you rush along to builders and you buy a whole lot of different colors, and then you start putting them together and you're like, that doesn't really work all that well. And that's because we haven't used the basic principles of, wait for it, the color wheel. And now I want you to think about colors that work together. And specifically, we call those monochromatic colors. So those would be oranges, reds, yellows. They can all work together. Do you see, they're in that hue, in that spectrum. Likewise, exactly the same would be purples, violets, and blues. And then, of course, you pop the gray in and the white in between just to make it all mix together. So those are your traditional color schemes, and they work very beautifully and are very calming, quite relaxing in anybody's space. Now, if you're going to go for something a bit more edgy, then personally, I would go for what we call complementary colors. And they were the colors that were opposite each other on the color wheel. So that's when you take a golden duranta and next to it, you're going to put something blue or even something red because you want it to be bold, vibrant. So colors give emotion. They can be bold and loud, and they can be very calm. And that is the trick that we need to achieve in our gardens. When looking at specific colors, darker colors, and I'm even edging towards dark pinks here, dark pinks, dark reds, dark blues, when combining those and using those in the smallest of spaces, they will make the space seem bigger. Yes, because they have a certain depth to them, and that depth draws your eye into them, and even on the hottest of days can even seem to create a sense of coolness. Then we get to the brights. And those folks do exactly that. They jump out at you. They want to be noticed. And if you've got a small space that you're wanting to attract your eye into, say it's into a pot near a beautiful little potting shed, and you want it to be noticed, then you use the bright colors, just as I've done here. And the other use of brights can be if you've got a very large space and you're wanting to make the boundary seem to come a little bit closer, to not have that big void between the home, the house, and the edge of the garden. Well, then consider using bright foliaged and flowering plants. So don't make color tricky. Just simply use the basic ideas and tips that I've given you on how to combine, choose, and select your color scheme. And remember, there are always those winning combinations. But at the end of the day, guys, we garden for us. It's your garden, and it's my garden. And it doesn't matter if it's monochromatic, if it works, if it's bright, if it's calming, as long as it makes you happy. Because that's the biggest aspect of why we create these places called our paradises. So remember, folks, the next time you pop into your local builders or are shopping online, consider your plant palette, even if it just makes you happy. Always do check out the blog where there are further ideas, great articles and videos to turn you into a botanical boss. Get to Builders and get it done.